John Sharpe sat in front of the television cameras and begged for his wife to contact him and let him know she was safe. More importantly, he wanted to know that their 18-month-old daughter Gracie was okay. John had told the media that his wife had left him, and in his message directed at her said, quote, "Anna, our marriage may be over, but I still love you, and you are the mother of our beautiful daughter Gracie, whom we both adore more than anyone else." To the world, John looked like a concerned father who was begging to know that his family was safe, but to the people who actually knew him, it was clear that he was hiding something. They just didn't realize how horrifying the secret would be. This is Monsters. John Sharpe was born on February 28, 1967 in Mornington, which is south of Melbourne on the aptly named Mornington Peninsula that's described as boot shape, and to me it looks kind of like a check mark. He was one of 6 children born to Miles and Valerie Sharpe, and they would describe him as quieter and more introverted than his siblings. In school it was reported that he suffered from social anxiety, which kept him from making friends. John stayed in the area as he grew up and eventually began working for the Commonwealth Bank, which is where he met a woman named Anna Kemp. Anna was born in New Zealand and was 4 years older than John. They had met in 1990, started to date a few years later, and were married in 1994. They moved into a small house, and Anna would tell her family that almost immediately after getting married, John seemed different. He was cold and distant most of the time, but sometimes would have wild bursts of anger. Anna was committed to the marriage, though, and wanted to try to make things work. After a few years, they finally started a family. That was in 2002 when their daughter Gracie was born, but it wasn't all good news. Gracie was diagnosed with hip dysplasia, which required her to wear a corrective brace for the first few months of her life. The brace pushed on her hips to force them to grow in the correct way, and that caused pain, which made the infant cry more frequently. It was a stressful time, and it seemed to cause a great deal of irritation for John. People close to the family said that John seemed to resent the baby for her constant crying and remained distant from the child. That year, the family went through a number of changes. The first was that they purchased a larger house on Prince Street in Mornington, and most importantly, John quit his job. John worked in a position that required contact with customers and colleagues through regular meetings, and his introverted personality wasn't suited for it. It caused him a lot of stress, so without talking to his wife about it, he suddenly quit his job and decided he was going to take over a friend's business. Working for yourself can be great, especially if you like working on your own, but there are other hurdles you have to get over. You have to have the motivation to work without someone else pushing you, and you have to keep everything dealing with the business organized, something many small business owners fail at. To add more stress to the situation, near the end of 2003, Anna learned that she was pregnant with their second child, who they eventually learned would be a boy, and picked the name Francis. Friends and relatives said that Anna was thrilled to be adding another child to their family, but John was not. They said he went so far as to suggest the child wasn't his. John would later tell investigators that he didn't want another child because the one he already had was enough of a burden. I can't even make this shit up. Despite that tension, the family went to a nephew's birthday party on March 21st, 2004, and other family members said they didn't sense anything was off and there were no arguments between the couple. Anna had a really close relationship with her mother back in New Zealand, and the two talked on the phone every few days. After March 23rd, suddenly Anna was never able to take her calls. John would answer and tell her that her daughter was out of the house, but it was unusual for Anna to not call her back. Finally, John told Anna's mother that Anna had left him for someone else. He claimed she had taken Gracie with her, but the mother was suspicious of the story. She didn't believe that her daughter would run off while she was 5 months pregnant. On March 29th, Anna's mother received an email that was sent from her daughter's email account, but it didn't sound like her, and it prompted her to call the police where she lived in New Zealand and report Anna missing. The police in New Zealand called John to question him about Anna's whereabouts, but he told them the same thing he had told everyone else, that Anna had left him and taken Gracie with her. He claimed that he had heard she had moved to Chelsea, an area between Melbourne and Mornington. Around that time, flowers arrived at the home of Anna's mother in New Zealand for her birthday with a card claiming they were from Anna. Again, the mother did not believe that the flowers had actually been sent from her daughter, and she knew she would not miss calling her for her birthday. The missing persons case was eventually picked up by authorities in Australia, and John appeared in multiple television interviews begging for Anna to contact him just to make sure she, and more importantly Gracie, were okay.
Our marriage may be over, but I still love you. And you are the mother of our beautiful daughter, Gracie, whom we both adore more than anyone else.
Of course, no call ever came. John was placed under surveillance, and in June he was followed to the beach in Chelsea, where he was seen pulling a white bag out of some bushes. He carried the bag back to his car and made a call with the cell phone that had been in the bag. Then he went to an ATM and withdrew cash before putting the bag back in the bushes and driving back to Mornington. Once there, he called the investigators and let them know that Anna had just called him and that she had withdrawn cash from an ATM in Chelsea. Oh, how convenient. They continued watching John for a few days to try and get more incriminating activities recorded, but when he remained quiet, they arrested him on June 22nd. When he was interrogated about the whereabouts of Anna and Gracie, he tried to stick to the story, but then detectives brought his parents in and showed them the surveillance footage. They explained to them that the white bag contained Anna's cell phone and bank cards. After that, they spent an hour with their son in the interrogation room, and finally John was ready to confess. The only account of what happened in the days that both Anna and Gracie were murdered came from John, but what he told the detectives was chilling. John had gone to a sporting goods store in 2003 and purchased a high-powered spear gun and an extra spear. That type of weapon is used in the water to catch fish, but it's still effective on land. John had never been spearfishing and wasn't known to have any plans to start, so the purchase of the weapon was purely for the purpose of eventually killing his family. He said that, in the days leading up to the murder, he had practiced shooting the spear gun in a shed as Anna had been getting on his nerves. He and Anna had gotten into a fight on March 23rd, and they went to bed angry at about 10 p.m. John waited until Anna was asleep, and he got out of bed and went to the garage. He retrieved the spear gun, went back into the bedroom, and shot Anna in the head with it at close range. It was reported that he was only a few centimeters from her left temple. The first spear didn't kill her though, and after realizing she was still breathing, John fired the second spear into her head, killing her and their future son. He covered her with towels and then went back to sleep on the couch in their living room. The next morning, John tried to pull the spears out of Anna's head, but they were stuck. The head of the spears could be unscrewed and replaced, so he did that to keep the shafts, leaving the heads embedded in his wife's corpse. Then he dug a hole in the backyard of their house and buried Anna's body. In the days that followed, John took Gracie to daycare, and on one of those days he returned to the sporting goods store and purchased another spear. It seemed that John was only planning to kill Anna, but he told her mother that she had taken Gracie with her, because he knew nobody would believe that Anna would abandon her daughter. That left him with the problem of explaining why Gracie was still with him, which he couldn't figure out how to do. He explained to investigators that he started to believe that Gracie should be with her mother, so on the 27th he put the girl to bed and drank whiskey and coke until he was quote-unquote numb. He loaded the new spear into the spear gun, went into the infant's bedroom, and shot her in the head. Like her mother, the first spear didn't kill her, but this time it woke the victim up and the infant started screaming. John then went to the garage where he retrieved the spear shafts he had taken from Anna's body. He loaded one after the other into the spear gun and fired them with no tips into the baby's head. John realized that Gracie was still not dead, so he pulled one of the spears out of her head, loaded it, and fired it into her head, finally killing her. He left his dead daughter in her crib like that until the next day when he pulled the spears out of her head. He told authorities that he held a towel over his face while he did it because he couldn't bear to look at her. He wrapped the body in garbage bags and disposed of it along with the spears and speargun at the Mornington refuse transfer station. When the search of Anna intensified, John became worried that her remains would be found on the property. On March 29th, John went to a home improvement store where he purchased an electric chainsaw, 2 tarps, and a roll of duct tape. That's what we in the true crime world call a body disposal kit. The next day he dug up Anna's remains and used the chainsaw to cut her body into 3 pieces. He wrapped the remains in the tarps and disposed of them, along with the chainsaw, at the same refuse transfer station. Authorities contacted the landfill and were given a 100 square meter or about 1,100 square foot area to search. Many people don't realize this, but garbage isn't just dumped into a landfill willy-nilly. Every truck is tracked and the specific area they were told to dump their contents is recorded. It took 3 weeks of digging through household garbage, but on July 11th, the remains of Anna were located by the Missing Persons Unit. With a sense that Gracie must be close by, it took another few days, but her remains were also located. It's impossible to know John's true motive for the murders. He claimed that he was unhappy with his marriage and originally only planned to kill Anna, but it seems unlikely that he expected to be able to live with Gracie and not have people question Anna's absence. His family made a claim that John had killed Anna because she learned that he was sexually abusing Gracie. A newspaper reported that his family said that he had a history of sexually assaulting children, which Anna was unaware of when she married him. According to his family, John had molested young family members or family members of friends for years. One girl later confronted John as an adult, and he supposedly said she was a slut who deserved it. Obviously, it's hard to imagine believing murder was a better option than divorce, but that only works with Anna. Once she was dead, the murder of Gracie was simply about convenience, which makes it so much worse. A psychological evaluation of John while he was in custody suggested he suffered from depression, and John made himself out to be emasculated by an overbearing wife. Another psychologist pointed out that he had spent his entire life as an isolated and withdrawn person. It seems more likely that his personality created the environment where he felt dominated, more so than Anna being overbearing had caused him to be withdrawn. Either way, both psychologists agreed that he did know right from wrong at the time of both murders. John Sharpe ended up pleading guilty to 2 counts of murder and was sentenced to 2 life sentences with a minimum term of 33 years. When investigators listened to John describe how he killed both his wife and daughter, they said he showed no emotion. They described it as if he were telling them what he had for breakfast. John will be 70 by the time he's eligible for parole, but hopefully his complete lack of remorse for murdering Anna and Gracie will keep him locked away like the monster he is. Thanks for watching This Is Monsters. New episodes are uploaded twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. There are occasional bonus episodes covering unsolved cases and criminal history. If you have a suggestion for a case you think I should cover, leave it in the comments. You can always follow the channel on Instagram at thisis_monsters and purchase merch at thisismonsters.com. Thanks so much, and be safe.